Welcome back to another episode of Sundays There For You. We have an amazing episode for you today. We got Cher Madol, so please welcome this beautiful human. For me, I've known you for a while now,
Yeah.
and one thing that's always like been really impressive to me is like you're very much just like yourself. Like you're
Yeah.
not really afraid to like just be who you are, and you don't care about like what other people think.
Yeah.
And that's always been like something I've admired from you. And I'm just kind of wondering like where does that come from? Is that something that was like super innately you, or is that something that you've developed over the years?
I think that mostly comes from my mom because like my mom has always taught me like raised me hard and stuff. She always wants the best for me and like she always disciplines me if I'm doing something wrong and stuff. That's pretty much where I got that from.
Shout out moms. You're super curious. Like, and I think that's like an amazing attribute to have. And I think you have it super naturally. Cause I think a lot of kids like your age too, a hard part for them is to kind of like get over themselves and get over that ego. I think that's a hard part for like anybody
Yeah,
in life
definitely.
sometimes, right? But you at so young too as well are just so naturally curious, able to learn. You're okay with being wrong, right? You don't care if like someone like is gonna correct you or something like that. Like, you're open to learning. So again, kind of just where does that stem from? Like I feel like for me, viewing you, that's always been like who you are. Like where does that like come from, and like what makes it so interesting? Like you, it seems like you love to learn. Like what is interesting you about like loving to learn?
Like I always want to be like surrounding myself with people that want the best for me and stuff. And like I could use you for example because you always want the best for me. You're always pushing me harder. You always tell me what I'm doing wrong. It's never just. It's always not negative, but like it always helps me to further my game, like whether it's on and off the court. And you like teach human attributes, which actually makes me like better, not on, like better as a person, just not like as a basketball player.
Hey, sorry guys, all good. Yeah.
So my question for you is like, what's your biggest like thing that you see within high school players like that?
Like for basketball?
Yeah,
Yeah.
basketball. Like, what's the biggest thing you see that doesn't like separate them from like trying to get to like the next level or something? Like, what's their biggest hindrance from getting them to the next level?
My thing, kind of like what we even talked about before, is like that ego, kind of
Yeah,
just like getting over themselves. I think a lot of kids, especially nowadays, you like
yeah,
you get, when I was like growing up playing basketball, yes, I had like influences, like you talk about NBA and like there's balls life stuff, but now it's like so much more amplified. Like you scroll of a button, it's right there, it's in your face. Like what
yeah,
I'm saying, like with things like TikTok and Instagram and all that stuff, it's like
yeah,
there's so much information, and now there's like everyone has a camera, right? Everyone has a camera.
yeah,
Like, bro, I would have like killed for one of these mixtapes that these kids are getting like in high school
yeah,
right now, right? But like it just wasn't, the technology wasn't there, right? So now everyone has a mixtape from like before, like when I was growing up. Obviously I'm still growing up, but like playing basketball,
yeah,
right? It was, you really had to, like, you had to be MVP at the camp, you had to be top player in the nation, like in
yeah,
America, like to
yeah,
be, getting those mixtapes. Now everyone has a mixtape, so it's kind of like that ego is like, everyone thinks they're the top shit.
yeah,
Everyone thinks
yeah,
they're like that guy, and not to say that having that confidence is bad, but I think a lot of times people think they're too good, and then they
yeah,
lose that aspect of like actually putting in the work. Like, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
a thing for me when I was growing up, and even now when I'm working in what I do
yeah,
now, it's like I'm that underdog. I have that
yeah,
chip on my shoulder. I gotta get it. I gotta get it.
yeah,
But now guys feel like they got it made,
yeah.
right? You got people telling everybody that you're gonna go D1,
D1.
NBA,
Yeah,
like all this stuff, and
exactly.
it's like, bro, like
Yeah,
especially with like emergence of things like the transfer portal, bro,
yeah.
it's
I
hard, bro,
know.
like extremely hard. And not to say it's impossible, and I think you should have that goal
Yeah,
and go for it ferociously,
yeah,
100%.
yeah,
But also understand that the odds are against you, and you have to have
yeah.
that chip on your
Especially being
shoulder.
from Regina, Saskatchewan.
Yeah, bro. Like
Like,
especially where we're from, like you gotta put yourself on notice.
yeah,
Like by, and then it starts with the work. It starts with the
yeah,
effort, right? So it's kind of that humility I feel like is missing, and I think guys just kind of need to get out of their own way and be humble and be open to any opportunity
yeah,
that comes. If there's an opportunity to get you to money for school,
yeah,
bro, that's a blessing. Like, you know what I'm saying? So you
yeah.
got to like take that into consideration and understand like there's a whole other world out there.
Another thing to add is I feel like a lot of kids like my age think they're too cool for school when they walk into the gym.
Yeah.
Like they think that oh I'm all that I'm going D1 all that, and then when they once they go play these like guys these prospects, it's hard for them to show out because they have that mindset that they're already there's no one that's better than them, but there's always going to be someone that's better than them.
100%.
And like I also feel like within high school, just like not even in Regina, I feel like there's a lot of kids that don't take what they have for granted. Like
They do take it or they don't
they
take it.
don't take it for
Yeah.
granted
Yeah.
because like there's some kids that like in third world countries for example
Yeah, 100%.
they have to they're like they're everything for their family, they're living like single family,
100%.
nothing's going on with them
Yeah.
like I feel like kids in
100%.
kids in Canada especially have it too easy. Not just
Yeah.
my opinion,
Dude,
but
yeah, you're right, bro.
like
Like, yeah. I think I think, bro, that's 100% on the mark. Like this is La La Land compared to the rest of the world. Like, we get lost like as humans, right? Even
Yeah.
not even as basketball players, just as humans in society of like, oh, we get so strung up on our issues and our problems, like then not even realizing that like there's kids who can't even eat food, like
Yeah.
eat dinner. There's people who are starving, who are thirsty right now. And we're over here complaining because we got to go to work. Like, you know what I mean? Like those people over there would kill for like that opportunity, like you're saying, and go to school, like learn, have that knowledge. And also, we live in a world where we can sit down on this bench and have a conversation without worrying about like an airstrike, or like, we live in a world where we can actually like go. There's now, especially in society, there's before even like my parents or like even like your parents and their parents before them, you grow up, it's like only one lane. Grow up, go to school, get a job, sit your butt in a desk and work for the rest of your life. You know what I'm saying? Like, and not saying that's bad, right? But I'm saying like now there's so many more opportunity and more resources, more like anything and everything. You can do what you want to do in life and make money and make a living and like live well off of that. And I feel like just that alone is an extremely blessing that we forget. I'm guilty of it. We're all guilty of it, right? Getting lost in like the worldly melodrama without realizing that there's people who would kill to have what we have, kind of thing. So yeah, bro, I love it.
so one of your biggest like things and like your biggest testimonies, like you like next play mentality, fixed mindset. Like what kind of fostered that? Like what brought you to that? Like who was kind of like your biggest person that you saw from? Like where'd you learn it from, kind of thing?
Yeah, like having that like growth mindset, I think, and then like having that next play mentality for me was actually my biggest hindrance when I was growing up, bro. Like super emotional, super high energy, and you could definitely say that about me now.
Yeah.
But I think like let's say talking basketball, but it was also related to life too, right? But in basketball is where it showed, just because of my like competitive nature, right?
Yeah.
I was just like getting up super upset like over one play, one mistake, one thing, right? And it would just super upset. Like plenty of games where I got fouled out in technicals and like at home just bawling my eyes out, So I think for me it was very evident to like someone like my mom, who was just kind of being like, well, you kind of need to like let it go and kind of like stay like in the moment. Like, that was a huge thing for me even now. And like, it's kind of crazy because that was such a huge thing in basketball for me that I had to learn, but it's now so much in life is just being mindful and being present. And it's actually that's like the focus of like my meditations and my like spirituality in that standpoint. But it started from, when I was playing basketball, freaking out, and I would say like my mom was there was multiple different people. Like my mom was a huge person. I had coaches like Adam Huffman out in Calgary were huge influences, just kind of showing me where my errors were, where I could be better, right? And it's kind of just learning that like the cup, it's silly and it's cliche, but it's like you can either see the cup half empty or half full. And I think people get lost in that, like there's a lot of aspects to like yourself, right? The self, you could call it, right? There's a lot of different aspects, and there's negativity and there's positivity, right? You can either wake up, if you're tired and you wake up in the morning, you could be grouchy, or you could decide to get up. You can decide to treat people with kindness. So I think for me, it was really like learning from those certain types of people, like if it was my mom or a coach, just that there's a next play, and to in that play do your best. You know what I mean? And then kind of in my own learnings, I've just really come to realize that there's nothing but this moment. Like nothing else exists right now. But in society, we live in a lot of like, what's next, or what happened. And that's what anxiety is: worrying about the past, worrying about the future, worrying about things that you can't control, right? So I think for me as a person, those were huge things. Or like living in imaginary problems was a huge one, right? Living in problems that are like non-existent, you know what I mean? And to take reality and take life as it comes, and like we were saying, choose your reaction, choose to do your best in that next play. So like one thing I would notice, like I would say, like I'll speak on Regina, Saskatchewan, just because that's like where I'm seeing the kids, right? I see a lot of talent, and I see a lot of skill, but I don't see the intangible standpoint of it, meaning like the effort, the energy, those type of things, right? People, I feel like in Regina, Saskatchewan, type of players we should have the biggest dogs. We should have the hardest workers, the most humblest kids. But it's almost been inverse. I've been seeing a lot of cocky kids, a lot of egotistical kids. Privileged, it's a great word to use. You could definitely use it. But for me, when I see you, I know I see a kid who, yeah, you have the talent, bro. Like you
Yeah.
have it for sure, but I see like that drive and that want, and
Yeah.
then the want not to just be good, but to do the intangibles, to like uplift your teammates, to become
Yeah.
a better leader. And I think those are skills that actually are going to help you more in life.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think those are amazing things. So again, like, yeah, what's your opinion on those type of things? Like, do you find those things important? What speaks out to you about those intangibles?
So a couple things that speak out to me for those intangibles are like I can't always be the top scorer on my team, so I have to impact winnings in some way. Like impact the winnings just not by scoring 30 points a game. You got to do the little things that coaches really notice. Like if like a coach is walking into the gym and you grab 20 rebounds for example and have 10 points, they'll value that more than someone that scores 30 and 5 assists because you can impact winning, you can fit a role. But like a lot of kids in Regina I see care about 30 points. Oh, I'm the best player in the city because I dropped 30 points. But that doesn't really matter at the end of the day because, like, in university, you're gonna have to fulfill a role and do what you inspire. Because, like, that's a lot of kids I see that just do that. They don't really care about the love of the game. And I feel like that's really what I'm trying to get at, like the love of the game.
Yeah.
Because kids don't love it as much. They just care about, oh, I scored 30
Yeah,
today and I'm
dude.
the best player in the gym.
Yeah.
But like, that's not realistic, man. Like,
Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah, 100%. I think a big thing you said was like focusing on those little things, impacting winning. Like, how do you actually impact winning beside your score? Because especially like you said, when you get to that university level, everyone can score. Everybody can give you a bucket, right? Like, you got a starting five out there. Most of those guys can give you 30 points, like no problem. 20 plus at least, like on a good night, right?
Yeah.
So it's like a coach, unless you are that next talented, next generational player, which yeah, you could be. Anyone could be, right? I'm not saying that's not you or that's not anyone watching this.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like you said, which was huge. How do you impact winning? How do you do stuff when your shot's not going in, when things aren't going well, right? So yeah, that's amazing. I definitely agree with you on that standpoint. And I think it relates to life too, right?
Yeah.
Some people, oh, I gotta be here, I gotta be there, but it's like gotta understand you are where you are for a reason, right? And you gotta make, like we were talking about before, you gotta make the best of where you're at, right? And you are where you are for a reason. So you either gotta work harder, do more, right? And that doesn't mean that that's just scoring 30 points, or maybe that's making $10,000 today for some people. It's about taking that next most necessary step in that moment, and sometimes that's going to grab the rebound. That's doing the little things, starting with like as a diving for a loose ball. In life, it could be I'm going to start waking up earlier. I'm going to start making a daily routine to kind of help fill my cup, right? Doing those little things, that's what's going to build up to who you are, right? Because your habits create who you are. So, if it's the habits of diving for a loose ball or habits of getting up early in the morning and filling your cup, I think it all applies and it's all connected. So, yeah, so I think we're going to wrap it up there. And I mean, it was amazing having you on, bro. Thank you for the conversation. Thank you for being you, and keep growing, keep flowing, bro. Hell yeah. I mean, do you have any closing remarks, bro?
Price is the pain of admission.
You want to try again?
Just remember, work hard and stay true to you. You don't have to be someone else. Everyone else is already taken.
Hell yeah. Keep growing beautiful flowers. Peace.